Okay, so Esprit basics. Alright, so when you open Esprit, this is your user interface. This is your work area right here. If you hold the mouse wheel down and move your mouse around, you can pan. These yellow lines right here, this is your X and Y axis. Okay, the little dot where they intersect, that's your origin. So depending if you're doing a mill part or lathe part, you're still going to use the X and Y work environment to do any kind of drawing and actually create your toolpaths. Now when you post code for lathe, it will be in X and Z. But just keep in mind that everything is actually X and Y on the drawing side. So you hold your mouse wheel down, you can pan, you can move over to the left and right and see other features on your screen. If you scroll your mouse wheel up and down, you can zoom in and zoom out. Now if you hold control down on your keyboard and your mouse wheel, you can rotate your screen. Now if you hold your control and mouse wheel down at the same time, you can rotate along each axis. Okay, so my screen is rotated, so I could try to manually make it straight, which is pretty difficult. Or you could hit F7 and put it in top view. Now, if I hit F8, I could put it in isometric view. This is pretty much a 30-degree angle. I'm gonna go ahead and hit F7 again and put it back in top view. Okay, so F2 will open the features window. If I hit F2, the window opens. Alright, so let's go over the tools. The main toolbar you're going to use is the Smart Toolbar. It's the one right here. And if you notice, you can undock it, move it around, put it anywhere you want. So, Smart Toolbar consists of switch to Solidmill, which is for milling, gives you your milling tools and toolpaths. Switch to Solid Turn, gives you your lathe tools and toolpaths. Switch to Solid Wire, which gives you your wire EDM toolpaths. Then you have Unbound Geometry, which is your design tools. Futures is basically what drives the toolpaths. Dimensioning, for any kind of dimensions, notes, measuring, doing some quick measurements, and common machining. Alright, so let's go over some of the design tools. So this is your Unbound Geometry toolbar, right? So you have things such as lines, points, circles, you have a rectangle command and a polygon. And then you have a couple of trim functions, and you can put fillets and chamfers on your objects. Okay, so if I want to draw a part, I could use a mixture of these tools. Okay, so there's going to be a video just for drawing 2D geometry, so I'm just going to briefly go over this. So if you want to learn more about the actual drawing tools here, watch that video here. Alright, so say I want to draw a lathe part. There's more than one way to do this. Here's one way. One way I could use line 1, and come over here, and I can draw my face. I'll put it at 0, lock it in place. We'll say I have a 4-inch OD, so I'm going to type in my radius value. I'm going to go ahead and use my mouse wheel to zoom in. And we'll say the part is, we'll say it's 4 inches long. Okay, so I can lock it in either side of my reference line. I'm going to click over here to lock it in place. And I'm going to put one at 0. And let's say, for example, I have we'll say a 2-inch counterbore hole. Come up here, type in 1 inch. I'm going to lock it in place. We'll say that counterbore is 1 inch deep. I'll left click, lock it in place. I'm going to hit escape to exit that function. Okay, so I have a couple of different trim tools. I have trim and I have keep. So trim works like this. So basically you trim what you don't want. So I can walk around and do something like this. I'm going to hit escape to exit that function. Now say for example I want to use keep. Keep is pretty much a trim function, but it's the inverse. Basically you click on what you want to keep. So say I want to keep this line, and I want to keep this line. I'm going to go ahead and trim this up. So that's pretty much my line 1 and line 2. So that's pretty much how line 1 works. Okay, so we also have a fillet and chamfer tools. So the way fillet works is if I want a 1/4 inch fillet, basically I want it to be right here. So I'm going to click on this line and this line, and it places a fillet at the intersection. Now say for example I want to put a chamfer right here. So I'm going to go to angle chamfer, and we're going to make it a 100 thousandths chamfer. I'm going to click this line and this line, and it puts a chamfer on the intersection. I'm going to hit escape to exit that function. So that's pretty much my unbound geometry. There's a couple other stuff too. If I want to delete any geometry, I just drag a window over it and hit delete. Okay, so I also have drawing tools such as horizontal and vertical line. So I could draw a face line. We'll say I have a part that's 2 inches long, so I would go -2. And we'll say it has a diameter of 4.5 inches. We'll say that there's no ID, so it's just a cylindrical body with no counterbores, no drilled holes. So I'm gonna go ahead and put a diameter at 0, and it looks something like that. So I'm gonna hit escape to exit that function. I can use keep. Now keep is a lot faster because I can just click on the geometry I want to keep. I'm going to hit escape to exit that function. Okay, so that's my horizontal and vertical line. Okay, so there's other unbound geometry tools here. We're not going to go over all of them. There's actually going to be a video for 2D geometry. But I'm going to go ahead and drag a window over this and hit delete. Okay, so say for example that I want to draw a gland flange to do some kind of milling operation. So what I could do is I can go to my circle 1. I'm going to click on my origin. I'm going to say my diameter is 7 inches, so I would type in 7 divided by 2 because it wants a radius value. Say I have a bolt circle that's 5 inches in diameter. We'll say 6 holes that are a 1/2 inch in diameter. So what I could do is I go to my point. Now your circle commands need a reference point, so we're going to start off drawing the point. So I'm going to go to X 2.5. Place a point there. Then I can go to circle 1. I can click on that point, use as a reference, and we're going to have a 1/2 inch hole, so I'm going to enter a radius value. So I'm going to go 0.25, hit enter. So we have 6 holes, right? I only drawn 1 up so far. So what I can do is I can come over here, so I can select this 1/2 inch hole. I'm going to right click and I'm going to hit copy. So copy basically opens up a whole bunch of transformation tools, pretty much editing tools. So I'm going to use this one tool here. It's called rotate. Number of copies. Now I'm going to have 6 holes. I've already drawn 1 up, so I'm going to type in 5 for number of copies. We're going to say we're going to make a 360-degree angle, and because there's 6 holes, 360 degrees divided by 6 is 60 degrees. And I'm going to go ahead and use my origin as the rotation of axis. Alright, so I have 6 holes there. So that's pretty much the basics of unbound geometry. There's other tools such as your rectangle, and you got polygon and stuff like that. Okay, so let's look at your rectangle command. I'm going to go ahead and drag a window over this geometry, and on my keyboard I'm going to hit delete. Okay, so rectangle. So if we want to draw a rectangle, we need 2 reference points. So I'm going to say that I'm going to draw a rectangle in my 4th quadrant. It's going to be 7 inches wide and 2 inches. So I'm going to come over here, I'm going to select point. With my Cartesian center, my X value is going to be 7 and my Y is going to be -2. I'm going to hit apply. I'm going to hit escape. Now notice that I have a little point right here. This point I drew up for a reference point. So I'm going to go over here to rectangle. I'm going to select this reference point and I'm going to select my origin. So that's pretty much how you draw a rectangle. Pretty simple. Just remember you need 2 reference points. Alright, so let's look at our highlight tool. So at the very bottom of your screen, the right side, you have a highlight button. So basically how this works, with highlight turned off, because it's grayed out, it's turned off right now. With highlight off, if I select a piece of geometry, I can just select it, right? I just click on it and it highlights it, right? Now say I have my highlight button on. So I'm going to turn highlight on. The way it works is if I go to select this vertical line right here, it gives me an S4 and a question mark on the mouse. Okay, so S stands for segment. So it's saying segment 4. Do I want to select that? And yes, I want to select it. So I'm going to left click for yes. Now if I don't want to select that, I can right click for no. Now say for example I come over here and I select this. Segment 4. But I don't want to select that. I actually meant to click on the other line. I can right click for no. Then it says, do you want to select segment 1? And if I do, I left click for yes. Alright, so the highlight tool is basically a useful tool. That say that you have a few different elements. You have some geometry and you also have some toolpaths and features. And you want to go select a toolpath, right? So you go to select it and basically it selects the line instead. With highlight on, you can select that line, and if it says, do you want to select this toolpath, you right click for no. If you want to select the line, you left click for yes. Okay, so say I want to write a small little program to drill this bolt circle. So I have 6 holes equally spaced with 1/2 inch diameter. Okay, so let's go over solid traditional. Basically, this is a set of tools for milling. Okay, so you have milling toolpaths such as facing, you have pocketing, you have contouring, you have rest machining, drilling, spiraling, you have threading, manual machine, wireframe, and you have this engraving button. Okay, so if I want to drill this bolt circle, what I would do is I would go over here and select drilling. Now the problem is I only have a set of points, so I need to create what you call a feature. So the feature that I want to create is going to be called my bolt circle. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my features icon. Okay, so when I select it, it opens up a few different features to choose from. I have manual chain, auto chain, and manual P-top. Alright, so I'm going to select manual P-top. I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to select each one of these points here. Anytime you do any types of holes or circles, it's usually driven from the center of the circle. So when I get through selecting, I'm going to go over here to stop. Now in my features window, it created a P-top. I'm going to go ahead and rename this 5-inch bolt circle. Okay, so that is my first feature, 5-inch bolt circle. So let's go over here and let's look at my Solidmill tradition. So this tool basically opens up a set of different types of toolpaths. Okay, so I have toolpaths such as facing, pocketing, contouring, I have rest machining, drilling, I have spiraling, I have threading for thread milling, I also have manual milling. Okay, so there'll be a whole different video for the toolpaths for milling. I'm going to keep this one simple. I'm going to say that I need to drill this bolt circle. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to go to drilling. Drilling opens up. This is my operation. So I'm going to name this drill bolt circle. So I can select the tool. I don't have any tools created in my library. Okay, so I'm going to select the tool. I don't have any tools created in my library yet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here. Alright, so I need to grab a tool. I need a 1/2-inch drill. So I don't have any tools in my tool library because I just installed the software. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to grab a 1/2-inch drill. It opens up. Right now it's in metric, so I'm going to put in an inch. And I'm going to scroll down and I'm going to find a 1/2-inch drill. I'm going to enter some speeds and feeds. I'm going to say I run this 1/2 inch drill at 800 RPM. Feed rate, we'll say 7 inches a minute. I'm going to go to drilling, cycle type. Let's go to peck drilling, first increment. Let's do it 200 thousandths with a peck increment of 200 thousandths. My total depth, I'm going to say I'm going to drill 1 inch deep. Tip already included, and let's say no. I'm going to make sure that I have a machine function on can cycle because I want a G83, and I'm going to hit OK. Okay, so notice that it created a toolpath right here. This is my drill bolt circle toolpath. So if I hit F8, okay, so if I rotate my screen, okay, so you can see that I have a hole pattern here drilled. Okay, so this is my toolpath. So basically it's drilling a 1/2 inch hole, 1 inch deep, tip already included. Alright, so let's look at the simulator. If I left click on this little green icon right here, this is my simulator. If I hit play, it's going to do something like this. That's because my stock isn't set up in my simulator. I have a whole nother video on that, so we're going to skip that. We're going to keep it simple. I'm going to go to my parameters, and I'm going to click this plot geometry. Hit OK. I'm going to go ahead and hit play one more time, and it shows a little simulation of my drill cycle. I'm going to go ahead and hit stop. Alright, so we created a manual P-top feature, and basically it's a hole pattern. And we went in and we told it to drill the holes, and it created a toolpath. This is my toolpath. So if I click on my toolpath, it highlights my toolpath. If I click on my features, it shows you the feature. Okay, so let's go over the highlight command. So if you look at the bottom right hand of your screen, I have this highlight tool. Okay, so the highlight tool is basically a nifty little tool used for selection, and it's got a few other functions too. So let's check out highlight. So when I click on highlight, say it's grayed out right there. That means highlight is off. So if I go to select this circle, for example, it just selects it. If I go to select this toolpath, it selects the toolpath. If I go select the feature, it highlights the feature. Okay, so now let's turn highlight on. So highlight is now on. So if I go to select this circle, notice it says C1, there's like a little question mark next to the mouse. Okay, so basically it's asking me, C1, do you want to select circle 1? I'm going to left click for yes if I do. I'm going to right click for no if I don't. So if I left click for yes, it now selects circle 1. Now say for example I come over here and I have this feature and I have this little toolpath of this hole right here, kind of on top of each other. They're stacked, right? So say I select this, and I actually want to select the toolpath. Okay, so P5. P5 is basically point. So it's asking me, do I want to select P5? No, I don't want to select P5. I want to select the toolpath. So I'm going to right click for no. Now it's saying, do you want to select the feature 5-inch bolt circle? No, I do not want to select the 5-inch bolt circle. So I right click for no. Now it says, do you want to select the drill toolpath? And yes, I do. So I left click for yes. My toolpath is now selected. Okay, so basically highlight is a selection tool that's very helpful when you have many elements on your screen. You have toolpaths and geometry and different features all stacked up on top of each other. And when you go to select one, if you accidentally select the wrong one, you just right click for no and you left click for yes when it actually highlights the one you want to select. Okay, so I created a toolpath for this simple bolt circle program. Alright, so this is my NC code button. So I click this when I'm ready to post code. So I'm going to click that. Okay, so say you just bought the software, you don't actually have your post processor in the right file. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit browse, and I'm going to right click and paste the post processor in there. Okay, so we're going to use a Haas TM vertical mill, so I'm going to select this post, and I'm going to hit OK. I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. Okay, so here's our code to run the bolt circle. Okay, so say for example, my drill is actually in the tool 1 turret. So it's not tool 24, it needs to be T1, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and exit out of this. Let's go look at this toolpath. So I'm gonna double click on it. Okay, so let's go to our tools. So if I go to the bottom of my features window, basically right now I'm in the basic feature window. I have a few other windows here. I have a tools tab, I have an operations tab, I have a measure tab, and a notes. I'm gonna go to tools. This is the tool I'm using. Right now it's at tool 24. I'm gonna go ahead and right click it. I actually want to name this tool 1. So I'm gonna name it tool 1. Also another thing you want to do is the axis of orientation. You want to change that to Z+. Okay, so everything else I'm going to keep simple. We'll make another video for this portion. I'm going to hit OK. Now if I go to Go1MO1 and post the code, notice that the code is now at T1 for my tool. And that's pretty much it. So what I could do is I could save this to a USB stick, put it on the machine, and actually run my bolt circle. I'm gonna go ahead and exit this. Okay, so pretty much this is a quick rundown on the basics of Esprit. There's a lot of details I left out. I know that. We're gonna have more videos on this. This is just the basics. This is just to get you started. Okay, so there's one more thing I want to show you. It's our dimensioning tool. So if I click on dimensioning, I could actually dimension out, say for example, that I want to dimension this. So I can click on it, left click for yes. I have a 7-inch diameter bolt circle, okay? If I want to measure the distance from here to here, let's see if there's an angle. It's showing me that I have a 5-inch bolt circle. The distance from the center of this circle to the center of this circle is 5 inches. It's pretty simple. There's more to the dimensioning. There's different options in here, but this is just a basics video, okay? So the features window has the basic features, any kind of toolpath or features you create, or any kind of features and toolpaths that you drive out those features will be created in this feature window. You also have your tools, so you can add tools, you can modify them. This shows your operations. If I have more operations, it'll have a whole list of everything. I can drag and drop and move operations around. Okay, so one more thing that I want to show you before we end this session. Basically, there's a tool called layers, and basically that allows you to organize elements and hide and show different elements, so you don't have too much clutter on your screen, and it's just a useful tool. Okay, so if I hit F11, it'll bring up my layers window. Okay, so this window right here is my layers window. Now by default, if you don't create any layers, you have a default layer. So if I hide this, it hides everything, including my axis lines. Now say for example that I want to create a layer for my geometry. So I'm going to name this layer geometry. I'm going to go ahead and create a layer for my features. Actually, let's call it chains. And I'm going to create a layer for my toolpaths. And I'll also create a layer for my dimensions. Okay, so with the highlight tool turned on, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'll start off with my dimensions. So I'm going to click this dimension and ask me, do you want to select annotation 2? I'm going to left click for yes, right click, I'm going to go to copy, and I'm going to go to attribute. Transformation type of attribute, let's put it on move, and let's change the layer. So I'm going to put the layer on dimensions. I'm going to click OK. Alright, so if I was to hide my dimensions layer, notice how the dimension that I just moved to the dimensions layer disappears. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and select this annotation. I'm gonna right click. I'm gonna move it to my dimensions layer and hit OK. And if I hide my dimensions, they both hide. Okay, so toolpath. So if I go over here to my feature window, it selects the actual toolpath. Okay, so I'm gonna right click. I'm gonna go to copy. I'm gonna go to attribute, and I'm gonna move that to my toolpath. I'm gonna move that to my toolpaths layer. So I'm gonna hit OK. If I hide my toolpaths layer, notice that the toolpath actually hides. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and select my feature. I'm gonna right click. I'm gonna go to copy. I'm gonna move this to the chains layer. I'm gonna hit OK. Now notice that when I select the chains, I can actually hide my chains layer. Okay, so geometry. So I'm gonna select all of this geometry right here. I'm gonna right click. I'm gonna go to copy, and I'm gonna move this to my geometry layer. I'm gonna hit OK. Okay, so now if I uncheck my geometry layer, notice how all my geometry disappears. So layers. Layers is very useful. I would always suggest using layers. This actually, okay, so layers is very useful. I would suggest always adding everything you do to a layer. I would actually make a template for Esprit that already had all your layers set up. And as you go and create different elements such as geometry and toolpaths and features and all that good stuff, I would go ahead and organize all your elements onto their own layer. It's just good practice. It's very helpful. It'll help you stay organized. But that's pretty much it. Now remember, this was just a basic video. We skipped over a lot of stuff. There's going to be more videos posted on 2D geometry, solid models, and basically all the different types of toolpaths. There's a lot of different toolpaths we skipped. But so this is the basics. Anybody has any questions, just message me.